Hello, this is David Scott Peters with restaurantexpert.com, and I'm absolutely thrilled you are here to watch today's episode of the Smart Systems Insider version 2.0, a video magazine created for you, the independent operator, to not only survive but thrive in the sea of chain restaurants out there. Have a management team know their job, how to do it, how well it should be done, more importantly, by when. In this episode, I'm extremely excited to be talking to one of our elite members, Forrest Higdon, the owner of Gumby's Pizza in San Marcos, Texas. He's going to share with you a little bit about his journey with systems and how systems are important to getting more done, and that you don't lose your independence, you don't lose your creativity, you actually formalize your business. I'm going to teach you a software tip in Smart Systems Pro on how to set up step by step shelf-to-sheet inventory. I'm excited about a coaching tip. Mary DeLeon, one of our restaurant coaches here, and also now the success coach, a member success coach here at the restaurantexpert.com, is going to share with you this step-by-step process of how you get the most out of batch recipes. Those are soups, side dishes, sauces, desserts, anything you create, any component in a dish, and how they're critical to having accurate inventories and having accurate recipe costing cards. Now, the expert interview, I'm thrilled to be talking with Bruce Watanabe, who is the CEO and founder of Sire Mobile, a text marketing system that is just incredibly powerful. And he's going to share with you the ins and outs and why it's so important that you have mobile marketing as a part of your plan. Now, stay with me. In about 2 seconds, I'm going to share with you how you set up shelf-to-sheet inventory step by step in your restaurant to get the most out of your systems. Let's assume it's Sunday night, and I say you got to take inventory. Does your heart start to pick up pace? Do you start to sweat bullets? Do you start thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not getting out of here till 4 o'clock in the morning, and I got to open the kitchen tomorrow, right? You think, oh my gosh, it's going to take me 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. Unbelievable. How would you like to know how to get your inventory done accurately, quickly, in under an hour? It's something called shelf-to-sheet inventory. And I'm going to talk about how we set that up in just 1 second. But let's talk about some of the mistakes we make in inventory in the first place. Number one, most restaurants, independents, don't take inventory but once a year. They don't even take it. What they do is it's tax time and your CPA says, hey, what was your year-end inventory? You say, I don't know, what was it last year? Add $500. That ain't taking inventory. Then you got old timers like me that have been taught to take inventory on a monthly basis. And often these inventories take 4, 5, 6 hours to do. Because I got a spreadsheet, and they're inaccurate. Because what's missing on that spreadsheet? Well, all the soups, side dishes, sauces, diced onions, and so on, the things that I manufacture, if you will, in the restaurant, we call it in transit. And so if the equation is beginning inventory plus purchases minus anything gives me use divided by sales gives me food cost, well, that use is falsely high. It may be on the shelves, but I didn't count it. So I have this false high food cost. So imagine, chefs, kitchen managers, you want your ass kicked because your food cost is high, but it's actually still on the shelves and you did a good job? Well, you're going to be missing that. Oh, we miss products because that prosciutto I brought in for this special just this week, I still have some on the shelves and it's really, really expensive. But because I didn't put it on my spreadsheet, we don't count it. We only count what's on the spreadsheet. I completely skip it, which means it's falsely used, giving you a false high food cost. You get the picture? And it takes 4 or 5 hours because you're sitting there, you walk in with your spreadsheet and the first item is let's call it cheddar cheese. And you go, cheddar cheese, cheddar cheese, cheddar cheese, cheddar cheese, cheddar cheese, cheddar cheese, right? It's like discovering something and you wonder why it takes 4, 5, 6 hours to take inventory when you're searching for everything. Oh, and your inventories are still wrong. Because why? You decided you're going to have somebody help you. Last time you able to do that, right? Because they wrote down how many ounces of cheddar cheese there was, but it had a case price. Now you have $30,000 in shredded cheese on your inventory and they're completely FUBAR. Well, I'm going to show you how to set up shelf-to-sheet inventory, get you from doing inventories on not yearly, not monthly, but weekly in under an hour. Know your food cost every single Sunday night because you have followed these steps throughout the week. Now let's start off. We've got to make sure, in order to do shelf-to-sheet inventory, we have to be thinking about FIFO pricing. First in, first out. That's an accounting term. Basically says every invoice that comes in the door, When Cisco drops off something, when US Foods drops off something, Shamrock, Benny Keith, don't care who you're using, Peddler's Son, the little produce vendor that you've gotten that you love because you love their produce. Whoever drops off product, every time that invoice shows up, you need to update your prices, whether on your spreadsheet, software, or if you're one of our members using Smart Systems Pro, we've made that easy. Why is that important? Because I've got to know what the price of that product is on the shelf to avoid the end of month nightmare where it's time to update the cheese, the price of it, and you go through every invoice trying to find out when the last time you ordered it was and change it in your spreadsheet. Oh, now we've got milk and we search for the last time. Next thing you know, inventories take forever because just to update your prices, you're spending hours reviewing invoices that have already been in the past. So we've set up a system that if you get your invoices electronically from the broadline distributors, meaning spreadsheet, we create a custom import tool and you simply upload it into Smart Systems Pro, like uploading a photograph to Facebook, you're done. Every recipe card is up to date, your next order is up to date, but most importantly, right now for this topic, your inventory is up to date. Done. And for those of you who have small vendors that handwrite invoices, don't have automated systems to give you an electronic spreadsheet, we've got a service called SmartScan. For $50 a month, that's it. You download a free scanning app to your phone, you scan every one of your invoices with that app, you send it to us, we digitize it, send it back to you next morning, you upload it, you're done. See, no more searching through. So we've got to make sure that every brand new product gets put into your system, every product that shows up when there's a price changes, that is critical based on FIFO pricing. By the way, you should be doing this anyway in your restaurant, no matter what system you use. Next, now we've got our FIFO pricing, we've got all our products in the system, we've got an area for them to be counted. Wait a second, we don't have every product. What about your batch recipes, your soups, sauces, side dishes, any ingredients, desserts, diced onions, converting chicken wings from pounds to eaches? We need batch recipes. Why are they so important? Think about it. If you were to make your own dressing, and I grab all the different products that I need to do so from my vendors, I put it in and I mix it all up and voila, I've got this new product. Well, isn't it the value of all the products you put into there? Right? So when it's on the shelf, I need to know that a full container is worth this much money. A half container is worth this much money. So anything that you manufacture, any component you create for a dish, you must have a batch recipe because we're going to count it on the shelf. The other part, batch recipes are incredible. They give you flexibility to count the products the way you see it. So for instance, if we bought, let's call it mozzarella cheese in a 5-pound loaf. Well, that's a product, call that from Cisco. I'm going to count it by the loaf or by the half, the each, or I'm going to weigh it. Either way, it's the loaf. But that same product right next to it, I have sliced 25 slices. I have cellophane wrapped them, day dotted them, and I do that to put those on the line only as much as I need so I don't degrade the product. Well, now next to that 5-pound loaf of cheese, right next to it, I'm going to count a batch recipe of each 25 slice cellophane wrapped container. Next to it is diced. I've got diced or cubed mozzarella, and I'm doing it by volume in a Cambro. Next to that, I've got shredded, and I've got to have a batch recipe there because what we talk about often here is, we don't think about when we shred mozzarella that we may start with 5 pounds, we don't end with 5 pounds because it evaporates. But either way, I can count each of the same products right next to it by adding batch recipes. Batch recipes give me the ability for a front of house manager to teach anybody to count. Because let's say you buy Heinz ketchup by the number 10 can and 6 come in. Well, I can count it by the case, which is 6. I can count it by the single can by the each. I need a batch recipe, which allows me to then use it in my ingredients because on the outside of that can is by weight, but I use it by volume. And so batch recipes convert anything from a pound to an each, from a volume to a weight, and vice versa. They give you the flexibility to count the products exactly the way you need. So now, what have we done? We've done FIFO pricing. We make sure all our invoices are up. We've created all of our batch recipes. We make sure it has value. Now we have to assign everything a location. So what I want you to do is now arrange your shelves the way you've always wanted them arranged. Now, I know what you're thinking, David, I've tried this shelf-to-sheet inventory thing before. It doesn't work because my people are idiots. You know, I labeled my shelf and it said milk lives here. When I walk in, I say, man, I know I just ordered milk. Where the hell is it? And you search and go, here it is, frickin' idiots. See, the challenge in that is you as the chef or kitchen manager or general manager or any manager are trying to be a superhero, right? Rip off the S, show it, and say, look, I can fix all of these things, but you can't. You can't be there 24/7 every single day. We've got to change the culture in your kitchen. So instead of moving the milk and saying, idiot, walk out of the cooler and say, hey man, who used the milk last? Oh, I did, chef. Great, come here. Move the milk. And when they roll their eyes like an exasperated teenager, you go, hey, look, man, you just volunteered to take inventory this Sunday. You're going to discover what a pain in the ass it is when we search and we take an hour inventory, make it 2 or 3 hours because we're like, I know I bought milk. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And we find it. See, that's how you change your culture. So now, arrange the shelves the way you've always wanted them. Now, before you do anything, label them. So I don't care if you print everything off, meaning you type up all the words on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper in Word document, spit it out, laminate it, cut it up, single hole punch, zip tie those puppies all around your restaurant. I don't care. I've got a member who uses cattle ear tags and zip ties those and hand writes because they're washable. I don't care if you use a P-Touch in your dry storage or you took a piece of masking tape and handwritten it. I don't care what it is. Make sure the shelves are arranged exactly the way you want them with every product on there, from products you purchase to those products you manufacture, your batch recipes, in the order you want to count them on the shelves. So now you've got them all arranged. I want you to grab a yellow pad of paper, pen. I want you to walk into your walk-in freezer and look at the top. I teach from the left-hand side. First metro shelf, first position against the wall in the left, right? That's position 1. Then I go 2, 3, 4, and I go to the second shelf of the metro rack, and so on until I get to the bottom shelf, and then I start in the next metro rack. I don't care if you go all the way around. It's up to you. How do you want it counted? Now, what I do is take this yellow pad of paper, I write in walk-in freezer. I don't want walk-in freezer rack 1, shelf 1. Way too difficult. I want the biggest area of inventory I can have, in this case, walk-in freezer. I'm going to number each position, and I'm going to start looking up there and saying the first position are McCain's potato wedges. 30-pound case is how I want it counted, and it comes from Cisco, so I know that where the price should be coming from. Now I go into my reach-in freezer, and in the 6th position, which happens to be in the last position on the second shelf, in this case, are McCain's potato wedges, 5-pound bag Cisco. I want it counted by the 5-pound bag because in that 30-pound case that is in the freezer, there are 5 6-pound bags. And so, let's go 6 5-pound bags. So I'm going to count 5-pound bags. Then when I go in the line and I go in the reach-in drawer freezer, I've got McCain's potato wedges loose by the ounce. I want to count them by the ounce, but next to it are 5-ounce portion bags, a batch recipe, and I want to count them by the each. They're the same McCain's potato wedges. You get the picture? In the order they appear on the shelves, the way you want it counted, who you buy it from. Now, once you do that, you set it up in Smart Systems Pro, shelf to sheet. Exactly the order it appears on the shelves, exactly the way you want it counted, with the exact price which comes from all your invoices. Now you are set up for shelf-to-sheet inventory. Now let's talk about this for a second, because I kind of misled you, but I didn't. I said that I'm going to take a 4, 5, 6 hour process and make it 1 hour. This is true. Your prices are all up to date, so all you've got to do is count. In fact, you can grab our free app called Smart Connect on your phone and take inventory with one finger, shelf the sheet exactly that you appear, and already have it uploaded in Smart Systems Pro, be done. Know your food costs the moment it's done. You can print off count sheets and do it manually. Don't care. Grab a computer and take your web browser offline. Don't care. You can get inventory done in an hour. But here's where the rub, where I say I might have misled you. It still might take 4 hours. Because what I'm going to do is, since it is so set up in the order it appears on the shelf that anybody can do it, it's so easy to do, I'm going to say you two do dry storage, you two do the freezer, you two the walk-in cooler. So I still may put 4 hours of manpower in, but I'm not there till 4 o'clock in the morning. I am done in no time because I train people. Yes, you have to train them to count the product the way I see it on the shelf. Hell, we even have the flexibility that if that McCain's potato wedges in the freezer is a 30-pound case, but we broke it down to bags because we were breaking down our cardboard, I can quickly on the fly switch it from case to bags and the price will be accurate. Won't affect the next inventory. It's just that one. See, look, man, if you want accurate, up-to-date inventories and you want them done in under an hour, it starts with shelf-to-sheet inventory. If you're a member and you need help with that, make sure you call us and any one of our training specialists, our coaches, will help you set it up. I'm really excited to be here with Forrest Higdon, one of our elite members here at the restaurantexpert.com and owner of Gumby's Pizza. Do me a favor, Forrest. Welcome, by the way. Appreciate you. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your journey with your restaurant.
We opened Gumby's, built it from scratch about 10 years ago this month. We started as a delivery-only takeout location, kind of near a college town in San Marcos, Texas. Slowly kind of expanded as sales grew into the suite next door to us. And then last year we moved into our own space that we designed from the ground up, a freestanding, significantly larger restaurant just down the street. So it's been a long journey, but it feels like just yesterday. So.
Yeah, well, it does feel like yesterday for me anyway. It's a beautiful restaurant. You should have seen, I've been to his location several times, and from a strip shopping center into basically this freestanding building that is truly geared towards the college community that you're in. Much better location, just polished and really, really nice. Yep. Now, you're a part of a chain, but more a licensing thing,
it's
right?
It's a licensing group, yeah. So we have autonomy to do kind of anything we want. So, when we made that switch, we made some significant changes to our business model. We went from having a buffet at the old location to now we do pizza by the slice. So we were able to we do a lot of the different things. So
for all intents and purposes, you are an independent restaurant. You just got licensing for the logo, using Gumby's, yeah, and some recipes, of which a lot of what over the years you've improved because you had the flexibility, change ingredients, change how things were done, yep, and carve your own niche in your marketplace.
Completely.
Talk a little bit about the journey on systems, because I think we found each other, I want to say Pizza Expo at one point in time. Talk about what you were looking for when you were at that point in time and your journey of trying to find systems.
So pizza is not my first career, but I worked in restaurants all through kind of high school, college, kind of your typical, you think you know how to run it because you worked in it. And we opened up and we had hardly any systems. We didn't, it was laughable to be totally honest, but I think it's typical of a lot of independents that just kind of try and wing it. Either they've got a background in kitchen or a background in service and just have a passion for hospitality. So we really had no systems whatsoever when we started. Slowly started to implement a few things as we went to different conferences. And we knew that there was a better way. We just didn't know what we were missing. We were kind of your typical, just what the prices came from, because that's what our competitors were doing. Deep discounts, couponing, anything we could do to try and drive sales, because that was always the solution. We just need more sales. So we made, you put it in the book, and mistake, we were pretty much doing it.
And unfortunately, mistakes cost you money, but you were profitable. I mean, as a company, you made money, right?
Yeah, I like to say that the first 5 years of our restaurant, we were successful despite ourselves. So we were in a good market, we had a good product. We did a lot of the restaurant 101 right. So we had a lot of things that we were doing right, but it was just chaos, and there was never one month we would make money and the next month we wouldn't make any money. And it was just really, it was a stressful type of environment to operate in. So
now, one of the things I know for a fact is that it's a family business. You've got partnerships with your parents, but your brother is running the restaurant on day-to-day operations, and he is, really powerful and imposing core will, his core values and imposing his will that everybody buys into. You're doing something special. It's really about connecting with the community, connecting with the employees, connecting with your customers. Talk a little bit about his influence on operating the business, because that's really how your sales increased, by that presence in the building.
Yeah. No, Adam is invaluable to Gumby's. So, and we're your typical family business where, for, better or for worse. But one of the things that really we feel like we do differently is the culture. But also, so many people that are independent, they say, I don't want to be that chain, or I don't want to be corporate. But there's a reason people go to corporate, because corporate are well run, they execute, and they're profitable. So it was always our dream to take the aspects of a well-run corporate chain and then bring in the hospitality, the individualism, and the creativity that you get from local independent restaurants. So that's what Adam really helped us with, is really bringing in the culture, really buying into our staff. And we wouldn't be anywhere without the team around us and the guys we have in the kitchen and our delivery drivers and everybody that's a part of us is part of our team. We're fortunate to have a lot of people that have worked with us a long time, but that's because of the core values that we put in and the culture that we invest, and we really preach activism in the community, and just being really involved. So that's been one of the core driving factors of our success throughout the years, is we've always had long-time employees, and we have large dreams for ourselves and goals, and we communicate those with our employees, and they've really bought into that, I think.
Well, I think it's really important to understand that when you go, again, I kind of set you up, you're part of a system, but it's more about the logo. Mm-hmm. You are an independent operation, but you also appreciate the ability of what chains do well, and that's impose your will, make money, but you have that magic of being independent still. Again, the culture that you created. If you implement systems, do you become cold and sterile? Do you become corporate? Or is it the same? I mean, when people start talking about it to me, they go, I don't want to become corporate when you put these systems in. And I often say, well, you have the same owner, same set of core values, same everything. It's just we're going to make money and we're going to ask people to do more. Talk about, was there pushback? Is there a real change? Or is it just better?
I think there's some pushback from some people. And there's always going to be the wrong hire, the wrong person on your team that doesn't understand. But the systems allow us to do more. So the more profitable we are, the more organized we are. Employees have expectations when they come into work. They know what's going to happen. It's not a okay, well, what kind of mood is the owner in today? They know that they come in, they've got their checklists, they've got expectations of how the line's going to operate. They've got expectations of how to open the store, how to close the store, and there's this stigma around systems and checklists that they sterilize the business, but they formalize the business and they give you the freedom to then to do what you need to do. So, and I felt that way too a long time. This is going to take the difference, because we are a very different restaurant. We are unlike most pizza places on the planet. So, and we embrace weird, we embrace different, but that doesn't take that. None of that took any of that away from us over the years. It's just enabled us to be really who we are and formalize that. So in our hiring process, we know what we're looking for, and it's not sterile. So that's what we kind of impose, and our checklists aren't sterile, our processes aren't sterile, and it sets in place exactly what we're looking for. And just because something is standardized doesn't mean that it's not a fun place to eat and the pizza's not awesome.
Well, I'll give you an idea. Talk about your concept. So you've got T-shirts, legalized marinara. Yeah. I Heart, what's that one?
I Heart Big Ass.
I Heart Big Ass Pizza. You've got, what's the other crave? You got pies like the Stoner Pie, one of your most important. What's on the Stoner Pie?
Stoner Pie's got pepperoni, bacon, French fries, diced mozzarella sticks. So,
in fact, I'm going to tell you, at one point in time, Forrest answered the phone. Somebody called up. Somebody asked what the pie was. What this dude was probably lit.
He might have had some fun.
Might have had some fun. And what did he say once you described that pie?
You read my mother blanking mind.
So it's a fun place to work, right? You come across, it's not a corporate chain. But because of those systems, because of the clarity, you're able to take all that creativity and your core values and deliver an incredible experience again, and work with family. I mean, that's really important to understand.
Yeah, when it also gives boundaries. So people know what's allowed, what's not allowed. They know where they can be creative. I mean, we're not, a lot of corporate chains are just constantly giving out freebies. My guys have some limits. They're not allowed to be abused by customers late at night, so they can say no. They can, but a lot of these processes and things are what I think makes us fun. And just because we make a pickle pizza or because we make a macaroni and cheese pizza doesn't mean that everything's going to be different all the time. We've got to have processes in place because our customers have expectations of how that pizza is going to be made, and they want that great experience that they had last month. They want the same experience this month. I think it's invaluable when you're running a restaurant, because if things are fly by the seat of your night, one night the pizza's burnt and the next night it's perfect, they're asking who's on the line. Well, then you have a problem.
Right.
Shouldn't matter.
So talk a little bit about that journey when you started implementing the system, started with Smart Systems Pro, and the pushback. What were some of the major challenges? What were some of the red flags that popped up?
That we knew better. We're like any restaurant guy. We thought we knew what we were doing, and it's hard to admit sometimes that you don't know, or that the way you've been doing it might be wrong. There's pushback when you implement things, but when you start to see, I think the biggest thing for our team was that we made it very clear from the beginning that this wasn't a money grab by ownership. This was a investment in the business so that we can further the health of the business, so that we can be here another 10 years, so that we can go and open another restaurant and my shift leader can become a manager and my manager can become a GM. These are so, we can make pay raises, we can make the investment in the business. There's a lot of locally run places where everybody's working on beat up equipment and there's a lack of respect for the environment. Well, that's because the ownership isn't investing in that equipment. Well, if you're not profitable, you're never going to invest back in equipment. So I think we were able to convey to our guys, this is for the betterment of everybody involved here. So that I think helped. And then ultimately, we reached a point with, as an owner, that, at a certain point I just said enough's enough. I'm tired of having 1 month where we make no money and 1 month where we make tons of money. I've got to have some stability in the business, and I don't care if you want to weigh the cheese or not. We're going to weigh the cheese. I don't care if you want to do a checklist. We're going to do a checklist. And our good employees, and we've had a lot of people with us for a long time, so they made this. We've been with Smart Systems Pro now for 5 years. My management staff was there. Almost all of them have been there since we started, and it's not an easy process. No, it's been a long process, and we're still not there. We've come a long way.
So talk about it. Well, you and I talked before we sat down that the unfortunate reality in the restaurant business, there's no finish line.
No.
We keep adding more systems. There's still plenty of systems to put in place, but as soon as you started that journey, what happened to your bottom line? Because not only you talk about the structure and now managers know their job and people buying in, that's your culture side, and that's where your brother was really important to make sure everybody was on board. But what happened to your bottom line, from the beginning?
So I tell people when we started, we had some fortunate timing when we opened the restaurant. The market was wide open for the kind of pizza place that we were offering. But we were successful despite ourselves is really the brutal, honest point about it. And we made so many mistakes, and we were lucky to survive a lot of the mistakes we made. And it got to a point where we were swinging, months with crime was out of control, and it was just like this. We would have a month where we made good money, and then we'd have a month where we lost the same amount of good money. And so we had to make a change. So. But by putting those systems into place, we saw massive swings in the bottom line. We would have months where our prime where we run right now it's a 10 to 15 point swing in terms of bottom line, and we're not a small restaurant. So when you get the volumes that we were doing and you start talking about 10 and 15% it's life-changing. So it's, to be quite frankly, we were in a strip mall with a very poor location, or an okay location, but a really dumpy building.
Yeah.
And we now are in a 3,500 square foot building that we own, that we financed, and all of that growth and the stability to the bottom line and the systems that we put in place are what allowed us to take that leap into that bigger building, and has given us a significant amount of stability and the ability to do that. And we wouldn't have been able to do that without the systems that we put in place through Smart Systems Pro.
So depending on a month, 10 to 15 point swing. So what does that translate to prime cost? What were you running at your worst? What are you running at your best?
We would run pretty consistently 60 to 65% prime before first of all,
which industry standard, right?
And we had no idea what prime was, if we're going to be totally honest. I didn't know what prime cost was. I had an idea of we had our P&Ls, but I didn't know that that's what the controllables meant and what to look for.
In just case somebody doesn't know, they're watching or listening, it's total cost goods sold plus total labor cost, including taxes, benefits, insurance. And the old standard, which they were running, it's a 60 to 65% prime cost, 65 primarily, and then if you were quick serve, 60. So you're doing well, you're making money, you're hitting industry standards. So if you're talking about a 10 to 15 swing from a 65% prime cost.
Yeah.
So you're running 50% or even under sometimes.
So we're in a college town, so we have the cyclical market where sales will go up, sales will go down. 1 week we'll drop significant sales. But we're in a slow time right now, and prime for the last 3 weeks has been running pretty consistently between 54 and 55%. When we're busier, we've dropped that as low as 48, but that was kind of the low water mark for us. But that's
incredible. That's an incredible.
And the fact that we have the system in place that I can tell you every week what my prime numbers are was something that I would have told you when I first met you is impossible. So. But it's not impossible. It's just getting the team on board and holding them accountable and taking one step, implementing one system, implementing in the next system. And it was not we were not an easy sell.
Wait a second. You know what they don't know?
What do they not know?
Do you work in the restaurant?
I am not in the restaurant, no.
Do you live in the same town?
I do not live in the same town.
You live about an hour away, huh?
An hour away from my restaurant.
So this is what systems allow you to do. You get to log onto your phone or whatever. See, they ordered on time, on budget, following PARs. You get to have meetings with your brother and other management team, pulling up computers, seeing the numbers at the same time. How's that changed you running a business, having access on the internet?
I don't know how we did it before. It was very hard. But now I've got inventory I can pull. I've got my hourly labor costs, my dollars per labor hour. Being able to track all of that remotely, have intelligent conversations with staff and go, okay, well, let's figure out what went wrong. Well, it's because the labor was high on Tuesday and Wednesday, which is why we missed our numbers last week. Or it's because you guys went over on our purchase allotment and you didn't check with me to do that. So next week we need to do that, and you guys are going to have to make that up. So being able to have conversations and identify what the problem is, or heck, we've gotten so deep into Smart Systems Pro now that we were having problems with prime costs, and we were able to isolate it down to the products that we're going over on. So to be able to say, you guys are over on food cost, and just yell at them. Now I can go, you guys, something's wrong with the batch of dough. And we were going through 4 batches of flour more than we should have been regularly. I'm sorry, take that back, 10. So instead of me just assuming that it was cheese like most pizza operators would immediately go to, our cheese costs weren't off. It was our flour. So
you had ideal versus actual product usage because you're doing daily paperwork. So let me ask you this. You got all these systems in place. It's a little bit of heavy lifting to get in place because you got to change culture. You got to set up shelf sheet inventory. You got to set up recipe costing cards, which unfortunately for you had to do twice because we set them up wrong the first time, right? We had to learn kind of how the POS.
Some of us are slower at learning.
But we got it done. Does it take a whole lot more effort to run the systems on a day-to-day basis, or is it just like breathing anymore? It's what they do.
No, it's what they do. So it's just the expectation of our staff. It's the expectation that that's going to be done, and they do it. And I know that's not their favorite thing to do when they come into work all the time. But they have seen the results of the system. They've seen that we weren't just saying things when we said this is for the benefit of the staff. They've seen that we've taken them out of the strip mall into a much better place to work. So they've bought in. At least my management staff has, and the hourly employees understand that that's just the expectation. So it's just about the culture that you input, and it's not. I mean, it's not easy, and it's not. Putting together every single recipe card for every single thing you have on the menu, and then realizing that, I've got to then do a weighted average for every single topping that we've sold over the last 3 months, so I know that exactly when I sell one topping, what it costs. But it's powerful to know that you've priced your product correctly. It's powerful to know where your contribution margins are at and what your menu costs are, and how to, we've looked at our menu and we've been able to, make changes with David's help and Fred's help to increase items that are more profitable and make our menu more profitable. And I don't know how many variations we are on with the menu, but it's a constant evolution of tweaking. And if I'm being totally honest, I don't think I think we still have plenty of room to tweak and increase the profitability of the bottom line. So, I know that's the fact, but,
well, it gives us something to strive for, right?
Yeah.
You're never finished. If there was one piece of advice you'd tell somebody based on your journey from starting with, hey, we're making money, we're hitting industry standards, we know there's something more we got to do, getting your life back, having management team know their job, getting the profitability, those are the things we're promoting. I pretty much think you covered all those things. Mm-hmm. What's the one thing, if somebody's looking at this and going, I want the success you have, knowing that it's not overnight, like we suck, we create work, right?
Yes, we've been with this. We're still not 100%. We've been in the system for 5 years.
But once you start to see results.
Immediately.
What's that one piece of advice you give somebody who's looking at either starting or is in the process and has started, stopped? You get that delay that I don't buy in, or I have trouble getting my manager to do things. What's that one piece of advice say, what you've got to do to have success with this?
You just can't afford not to. For me, it came down to, I went to the seminar and David said, we can get you to this per prime. And I did the math and I said, why am I letting an employee or my self-talk or any of this stop me from achieving what I really should be doing? And that, 10 points on the bottom line, if you're $1 million restaurant, everybody can do the math, that's $100,000. So that's not, if that doesn't get you out of bed and that doesn't make you want to deal with that difficult employee, and if that doesn't make you want to do the prime costs and figure out how to weigh the cheese and put these systems in place that are what everyone that's successful is doing, then you just got to throw some water on your face and reevaluate what you're doing. But because everybody gets into the restaurant business because they love hospitality and they love the restaurant business. But so many of us end up being social workers, working for our employees or working for the customers or giving things away. Well, you're able to do more as a hospitality restaurant owner if you're successful, you're profitable, you can take care of employees, you can afford to deal with the minimum wage hikes and the things that government are putting on us. And if you're not doing that, then you're going to be out of business. So it's more that you don't have a choice. You have to do it. So if you're feeling stressed out and you're worried about, I would be up at night thinking about why we lost money for 3 months in a row. And that's not sustainable. It's not healthy, and the systems will set you free. And that's what you got to do. You have to do it. You have to take one step. And I think it can be very overwhelming when you start to look at the software. I still look at the software and I'll see a feature and I'm just like, I don't even understand how they go together.
Right.
And it takes the wax. David talks about it, wax on, wax off. You just got to do it. And you pick one aspect of the feature software and you start. And you've just got to do it that way. And it's a long process, but every time you get into another aspect of the software, you get into another aspect of the systems, you just see results and it will snowball. And eventually you'll be at a point where you just can't imagine running a restaurant without the systems. You can't imagine running a restaurant without all of these things in place. So, and that, I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with my brother, my dad, and we're getting ready to take a vacation, or we're getting ready to open a new store that is something I never thought we would do, and we wouldn't have been able to do any of that without the systems and the profitability that we've been able to drill down on. So you can't afford not to.
So major takeaways, you just got to start,
Yeah.
You got to trust the process we talk about. It doesn't happen overnight. We suck at create work, but once it becomes part of the routine, you don't have to change your core values. You can have the results, but it's work. And the key is, and I think if you're watching or listening to us right now, you can see that Forrest is a leader. And it takes leadership to implement these systems because you will get pushback.
Yeah, 100%.
Guarantee you're going to have somebody go, this is too hard or whatever it may be. And the truth is it hard? The implementation's hard, right? The culture change. Yeah. But are the systems hard?
No, I mean, once you get them going, they are systems. It's a checklist. But getting there is hard. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And my brother was definitely not a fan of David at the beginning. So, and if he was sitting here today, he would tell you that we wouldn't be where we're at and we couldn't function without it now. So, you just have to do it. So it's hard work. But I mean, let's be honest, like running a crazy shift on a Friday is not easy either, but you do it. So.
Well, I appreciate you sharing today. Everybody watching or listening, look, I'll tell you right now, all you got to do is get started. And we're going to be here to help you with the systems. But the bottom line is you just got to start and you got to keep that ball moving. Thanks so much, Forrest.
No problem. Thank you.
So I hope you're excited about setting up shelf-to-sheet inventory. I told you how easy it was, right? Set up the shelves the way you've always wanted, label them, then make sure you write them down, get a yellow pad of paper in the order they appear on the shelf, the product name, who you get it from, and how you want it counted. That sounds really, really easy, and it is. But did I mention that it's 20 to 30 man hours to set up? Look, think about it. Rearranging your shelves the way you've always wanted, creating labels, zip tying them, right? Writing everything down on a pad of paper from section to section to section. It takes time. But the beautiful part is, while I might demotivate you telling you it's a 20, 30 man hour process, I should motivate you because it's inventory on a weekly basis in under 1 hour. So you're going to spend the next 4 weeks setting up your shelf-to-sheet inventory, same amount of time it'd take you to take inventory. And then going forward, you're down to 4 hours, 5 hours a week taking inventory, knowing your cost of goods sold just like that. Who doesn't want that, right? You want to control your numbers? You've got to track your numbers. And the only way to do that, to have accurate cost of goods sold, is have an accurate inventory. So let's talk about how we set it up in Smart Systems Pro. So I'm in Smart Systems Pro now. Now the font is pretty small for you. So I'm going to hit Control++. I'm just going to make the font larger. It's a web browser. If I want to make it smaller, Control-. If I want to set it to the default, it's Control-0. All right, so you can do that. So I'm going to hit Control++. I'm going to go to the food systems and go to the products. Now, first thing I'm going to do is you'll notice on the screen, I've also got a handwritten paper. Remember that yellow pad of paper, if you will, where I've set up a shelf-to-sheet inventory on paper. In this case, my example is the 2-door refrigerator in the server station. So it's going to have salad stuff and dessert things, so on and so forth. Now, I listed out 25 items, but I've only put 6 on there because this is a quick tip. I just want to show you how it's all done. So the first thing I do is I go into my food products and I search. And so I'm going to look for my cherries, hit enter. I find that my maraschino cherries, the first product, because I know that the vendor was Reinhardt, I come look at all the product. It's set up. I buy it by four half gallons. So the purchase unit is 2 gallons. My storage unit is 1/2 gallon, if you will. Then I've got a fluid ounce usage unit. But right now what I'm doing is setting up my products to be counted. So I need to know each one of those units, but I've already written it down on my shelf to sheet. So I come down here, I find the 2-door refrigerator, I select it. Notice it's in the first position, type in 1, and how I want it counted. So remember that storage unit was a 1/2 gallon. So I click storage unit and you'll notice to the right of it, it says a 1/2 gallon. I'm going to save that product and now that is in the first position in this section. So let's do the next one. I'm going to type in whipped cream, hit enter. I'm going to find the aerosol. Again, I know that I get this from Cisco. Double click, and here's the product. I buy it by 12 14-ounce cans. So in this case, it was set up by a chef because it's 168 ounces. If it were me as a front of house person, I would have done 12 cans. But in this case, we know that our storage unit is 14 ounces, our usage unit is 1 ounce. So I come down to the bottom, I find the 2-door, I'm going to put it in the second position, and notice on my paper that I written down, it's a can 14 ounce. So I happen to know that's a storage unit, and you'll see right next to it is 14 ounces. Could have been 1 each if I set up the product differently. Hit save. Now I'm going to look at my next product. I'm going to search for my chocolate syrup. Hit enter. I find my squeeze bottle here, the second product down, double click. Now this is 24 bottles. Okay, now let me show you how we set that up. If I do it by the each, I'm going to say 24 each. I'm going to store it by the 24 each. I'm sorry, I'm going to use it by store it by the 1 each. Sorry about that. And I'm going to use it by the one each, because what I'm going to have to do is set up a batch recipe, which allows me to use this now by the fluid ounce as an ingredient. So I've got that product in there. I've got a 100% yield. I lose nothing. The category is food. It's not a catch weight item. I could put product knowledge and so on, but I'm not going to do that right now for this example. I'm going to come in, I'm looking at my chocolate syrup. I have it as the 3rd position, and I'm going to be counting that by the storage unit, which is the 1 each, a bottle. Okay, I'm going to click save. Now you notice the 4th product is a recipe. So I'm going to go to my recipe costing cards. I'm going to type in banana bread. Oop. If I could only type properly. I'm going to find my banana bread recipe, click on it, and then I'm going to hit search. I find my batch recipe right here, double click. Now I want to show you 2 ways here. Notice I've got this view location, right? This is where I can have it. Before I do that, let me scroll down to the bottom here. Notice there's a batch, which is a half hotel pan, 2 ounce slice. So I'm making a large batch of this. So those are the ways that I can count it. I click on view locations, and it's just like we have it in the product setup. Find the 2-door. I'm going to say what position this is going to be in. I'm going to say this is in the 4th position. I could use an arrow key in this one if I want. And in this case, portion, which I happen to know is the slice. Now I save that. I come in and I go back to my product. I want to show you that there's one other way. I can highlight this product, and then you'll notice this little location icon like you would see in a map. If I click on it, you'll notice that I can put the product in that way. Notice it's already there. So I don't have to go into each one, but if you want to know what the product, the way it's set up easily, that is the one way you can do that. So the next one is a product again. So it gets a little cumbersome, right? We're going to go back and forth into products from batch recipes and so on and so forth. So in this case, I've got my butter. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm looking for the butter cups, 90 count. Double click on this. I'm going to scroll to the bottom. These are 1 eaches or 90 count by the case. So I go to 2-door. Notice that my buttercups are in the 5th position, and I want to count that by the case. So that's the purchase unit, 90 each. Click save. The last thing I have in my example is going back to batch recipes for a balsamic dressing. And so, balsamic dressing, batch recipe. I'm going to click search. And here's the dressing. So in this case, I can go right into the location. I don't have to go into the item, but I need to select. You notice that? I didn't make it blue. So I click on the location. I scroll down to my 2-door. I put it in the 6th position. I'm going to type it this time. And we're doing it by the bottle, which happens to be the storage unit. Click save. Now, I'm going to create an inventory. I'm going to show you how you would edit this. If after you've set up your shelf to sheet, gone through this process, set up each section the way you want it, you want to make some changes. I'm going to show you an easy way to do so. So I'm going to go to my food systems, go to inventory. Again, this works the same for liquor and your merchandise. I'm going to click on the plus symbol to set one up. Now, this is a garbage one, so it's today. It's not one that I'm going to use for my inventory. Click save. Now, let me open this up a little bit. I'm going to go down to the walk-in number, the 2-door server station. This is the one we just set up. Notice maraschino cherries by the half gallon. The aerosol whipped cream by the can. This syrup by the bottle. Banana bread by the slice, 2-ounce slice. That's how I'm going to count it. The butter by the purchase unit, 90 each. So what does that mean? It means I can count it if there's a half a case, because the dollar value of the butter is so low. It's okay to do a half case, quarter case, 2/3 of a case, whatever it may be. My dressing, I'm going to do that by the bottle. All right, so we've got all that information, but what if I wanted something else to move? I wanted to move it. Let's say I want to move this dressing into the first position. Notice here, I can literally just drag and drop it to the top and it reorders itself. It's now in the first position. If I want, I can change the number here, hit enter. And now what happens is I've got to go to the top here and you'll see this resort location index. Click on that, it's now sorted. If I wanted to move something down, let's say for instance, I'm going to go into my walk-in cooler and I want this whipped butter. I want it to move. I'm going to double click on it because I'm going to now put it in the server station. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come down to my two-door and I'm going to put this in the 7th position. I'm going to count it as the usage unit and click save. Now watch what happens. I'm going to go, it's now in this section as well, in the 7th position. If I want to get rid of it, I do the same thing. So once you put in the effort to set up shelf-to-sheet inventory, it's pretty easy to maintain it and change it going forward. Look, if you want to know your cost of goods sold in under an hour, every single Sunday night, and control your food cost, your pour cost, make sure you call us if you need help. Our team is here to help you set up your shelf-to-sheet because it's extremely important. I'm really excited to be talking with Mary DeLeon, one of our restaurant coaches here at therestaurantexpert.com, and recently promoted to success coach for our members to make sure that first 100-day journey for a brand new member is going to be out of sight. We're really excited about that change. Super. Mary, for people who don't know you, tell them a little bit about your background.
I grew up in the restaurant industry mainly. I mean, my entire adult life I worked in the restaurant industry. I was a kitchen manager, front of house, all kinds of positions, dishwasher. So I've done everything. I've been here at the Restaurant Expert for 3 years now, so I'm excited to tell you what I know.
Well, she knows a lot, and one of the things, she's got a lot of strength in the kitchen, which I don't have. And that's what I wanted to talk with her a little bit about today is batch recipes. You know, a batch recipe, when somebody throws that out, they don't really know what that is. You know, I always talk about it's a soup, a sauce, a side dish, dessert, anything they manufacture internally, including dicing onions and so on. Tell everybody a little bit about what a batch recipe is to you from the kitchen side, kind of in your thought process versus a front of house.
So I see batch recipes as two separate things. It's either going to be a component of a menu dish, or it's going to be something that you break down further from the way that you receive it. So for example, if you open up a number 10 can of tomatoes and you need 16 ounces, you need to create a batch recipe for that because not all 10-ounce can or number 10 cans are standardized. And also like a wing or something like that, if you purchase it by the pound and you want to put it on your plate by the each, that's something that you need to create a batch recipe for because you want to know how many individual pieces of wings come in 1 pound. So those are batch recipes in my mind.
And so it's interesting, again, from the perspective front of house versus back house, you say as a component of a dish, I think, oh, it's just something we manufacture. What is the process? If I want to start doing my batch recipes, I always talk about grabbing your menu first. How would I start to say, what are all my batch recipes? How do I create that checklist first?
So definitely grabbing your menu is going to be the number one thing you want to do. You want to list out everything that you create in the back of the house. All of your sauces, all of your special little fancy, anything that you make back of house. You also want to consider all of your diced onions, your diced, sliced, chopped mince, anything that you change from the way that you receive it to the way that you put it on a plate, that's going to be a batch recipe. The reason why you do this is because there's some waste involved in some of these items. Like if you start with an onion, unless you're making your own stock, which most people are not making right now, you're going to like lose some of that onion depending on who's cutting it or whatever. So you want to start out by saying, I start out with 5 pounds of onions and I end up with 4.5 pounds of diced onions or sliced onions or whatever it is. Same with shredded cheese. That's one of the big ones that people forget to measure out. Like they start out with 5 pounds of shredded cheese or a 5-pound block of cheese, but they don't necessarily end up with 5 pounds of shredded cheese.
It evaporates, right?
It does. It's
strangest thing in the world.
It is. It's one of those things that people are like, what are you talking about? So definitely making sure that anything that you change from the way that you receive it to the way that you use it is going to be a batch recipe. There's also another one that you need to consider, which is weight to volume measures. So if you start out with, I don't know, it's something that people weigh and then use in volume. So rice or something like that. So people will cook a huge batch of rice and then they're measuring it out by the spoon or by the scoop. So that spoon or scoop is a volume measure. You start out with 40-pound batch of rice that you've cooked, but then you want to weigh it or you want to measure it by like a 2 fluid ounce scoop or something like that. So you need to like make those conversions in a batch recipe. That way when you put it into your actual recipe, it makes sense and it's costed out appropriately.
And that's an interesting, when you talk about rice, again, coming from somebody who's not in the kitchen, that's one of those things that a batch recipe kind of changes everything. Because if I start with 40 pounds of rice, I end up with more than 40 pounds of rice.
Correct.
Right? So the batch recipe, we may start with this amount of product, but it's one of those few products that it's got a bigger yield than what you start with.
It's like a 3-time yield or something like that. You start out with 40 and have like 120 pounds of usable product, but then you break that out into volume measure again, a scoop, some sort of scoop or an 8-ounce container or something like that. When you say an 8-ounce container, that's 8 ounces of volume measure or liquid measure. It's not necessarily 8 ounces of weight. So you want to make sure that you make those conversions and make batch recipes that are appropriate for those items.
And so let's talk a little bit about that. So if I've got this batch recipe, and we use rice as an example, I start with 40 pounds, I end up with 120 pounds. There are 3 things that we've got to look at. One is, what do we end up with so we know the cost? So let's say it costs me, what's an average 40-pound bag of rice cost?
I don't know, like $20.
$20, call it $20. That means this 120 pounds is worth $20
Mm-hmm.
no matter what, because we don't pay for our water, if you will.
Right.
It's the only other ingredient we're throwing in there, maybe a little pinch of salt, right?
Like minuscule.
Nothing. So we've got this batch that is 120 pounds worth $20. What are the next 2 pieces and how do they translate to inventory and using them in a recipe?
So once you create your batch recipe, there are 3 subsequent lines that you need to fill out. It's going to be the batch, so your basic yield of the recipe, your storage, which is how you're going to count it in inventory, and then your usage, which is going to be the portion size. The storage component becomes really, really important for your inventory purposes because you want to separate out that rice. Obviously, we're not making 40 pounds of rice anywhere unless you're a huge manufacturing place. But if you are cooking 40 pounds of rice at once, you're not putting 120 pounds of rice on the line. You're maybe dividing that out and putting it away 20 pounds here, 20 pounds there, 5 pounds over there. So you want to be able to distinguish how you're going to count that in your inventory. So either by doing it by the pound or by the volume measure, so you can say that it's 5 pounds in a 5-quart Cambro, and in the description you can write 5-quart Cambro, and when your people are doing your inventory, they'll see that description and they'll be able to say, I have 1 of these, or I have 5 of these, or I have half of these. So your storage becomes very important, as well as that description box, because it lets whoever's doing your inventory know how it is that they're supposed to be counting that particular product.
That's for speed. Now, there's a last line. That's how we use it in each one of our recipes. Talk a little bit about that.
So for that one, we like to go the lowest possible measure because you're always in it. Sometimes people say, I only use it for this, but what if somebody orders a 2-ounce side or whatever? So you always want to go the lowest possible measure, which is like 1 fluid ounce, 1 ounce, 1 gram, 1 each. And you want to go ahead and do it that way because you can put that in any sort of recipe. So you may start out saying, I only do a 6-ounce portion of this, but at some point, the chef may get creative and say like, oh, I want to put 2 ounces of this on this other dish. So now when they're creating that other dish and they're putting that batch recipe in there, they have to get creative and do math in their head. So, we don't want
that. No.
We don't want them doing too much math in their head because it gets confusing sometimes with like, oh, I need 1/3 of that. So if they start with 1 ounce, they can put 2 ounces here, 3 ounces there, 6 ounces on the standardized one. And you're just super flexible with that ability to put it anywhere you want, however it is that you want.
So let's kind of back up. So a batch recipe is a component. You call it a component to a dish. I call it anything that we manufacture internally. Again, front of house, back house kind of language. Start off with grabbing your menu and going from the very first item all the way last and create a checklist of all the batch recipes you've got in there, ingredients or components you've got in each dish that you manufacture. And I wanted to talk about one quick example. For instance, if you sell chicken wings, buy chicken wings by the pound. We use them by the each. So now you got to count 5 cases of chicken wings every 3 months because these, in the summer they get anorexic, your counts go up, right? So what's the average count I have to a 40-pound case to know what each wing costs? Well, that's a batch recipe. If I've got 5 sauces I make, that's 5 batch recipes. I make my own ranch dressing, that's a batch recipe. Haven't figured out people don't eat celery and carrots yet, and I prep those. That's 2 more batch recipes. That's 9 batch recipes before you ever get to put
for one dish.
12 chicken wings on a plate. And so this is why it has to be done first, because it's, for instance, all of your products you get from a Cisco, US Foods, Benny Keith, we help make them usable and so on. Well, when we say usable, it means you can use them in our software. Well, you also need all these other ingredients. You're a manufacturer, right? It's going through everything in your menu first. And one of the things we talk about internally is often we've got a chef or kitchen manager who doesn't want to do this process. Yep. I generally know. I've been on consults with Fred. You've gone out. There's the thing where you sit in the kitchen and go, stop, weigh it, write it down, right? Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about the process of putting together a batch recipe.
So batch recipes happen to be my most favorite thing, especially in SSP, because I used to do this in the kitchen and I used to stop, weigh everything, write it down, and then put it in a spreadsheet. So this is actually my favorite part of the entire system. So when you're creating your batch recipes, it is a process of stopping what you're doing, weighing whatever it is that you've completed. So you start out with a certain weight, you process it however it is that you're going to process it, you stop, you weigh it, you write it down, and then you keep going. If you're not necessarily the kitchen manager or the person in the back of the house and you're a front of house person, you're just going to stand there with a piece of paper while the chef or whoever it is creating these dishes, and you're going to just be their hands. So because they don't want to change their gloves or stop, wash their hands, use a pen, and then go back to doing the whole process. So you will just become their asset in there in making sure that you're taking good notes on everything that they're doing. It's a really important process. It is time consuming, unfortunately. It can take you anywhere from 40 to 120 hours, depending on how many batch recipes you have. But I promise you, it is 100% worth it, especially when you want to find your menu costing and you want to figure out, if you want to build all of your item recipes, you need all of those little components, which are batch recipes, to put into your item recipes that are on your menu with pricing. And it sucks so bad when you have to stop and go create a batch recipe because your number 10 can that you're only using 16 ounces out of, you need to go find the net weight, and you need to do this and this and that, and then you need to create that batch recipe. And by the time you're done with all of that, you want nothing to do with item recipes anymore. So I promise you, making that list, writing everything out, you're always going to have to stop again if you need to convert something into volume, weight, whatever. But getting that list right away is going to be the most important part. And then actually weighing everything, finding your volume measures. I think that part is really important. People forget about that. They say, I use a quart of rice. What's a quart of rice? How much does that weigh? So making whoever is going to be doing these batch recipes, making sure that they know the steps that they need to take in order to make this successful will help with a lot of the grief at the end where they're kicking and screaming, not wanting to do anything, in my opinion, of course.
And I will tell you, as we talk about the hours it takes to put those batch recipes together, to document it only takes 1 week. 2, because you're busy. Because why? You make those dishes every single week. They're dated products. If you don't make them every week, you're going to kill somebody and your food sucks. I mean, so there's no excuse that I can't get that done. Now, sitting down in front of the computer and putting those in, that becomes data entry, and that's just time consuming. Easy as hell, but time consuming. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of batch recipe. I go through, a couple things I can do is I can make inventory faster for a front of house person. So for instance, you buy number 10 can of Heinz ketchup. Well, the outside's by weight, but you use it by the fluid ounce. So now I can do inventory with the product by the can, by the each, but I take a batch recipe, now I can use it by the fluid ounce in a recipe.
In a 2-ounce cup, in a 16-ounce portion, whatever. So that really becomes really important, again, for inventory purposes. You don't want to start saying, you buy 684 ounces of something. Whoever's doing your inventory is going to look at you like you're crazy, and they have no idea what they're counting. So definitely easy to put it in by the each, create the batch recipe where you're breaking it down further so that you can use it in recipes.
And you'll have accuracy in recipes. Let's say you want to use something. I'm very old, so we used to use monkey dishes on the line all the time, and it's just basically like a ramekin. And if you had a 4-ounce ramekin of rice, the chef would write down 4 ounces. But that's by volume, it's not by weight. And so a batch recipe allows you to literally, you could create a batch recipe just for 4 ounce by volume in that dish. And so now you can cook the way, you can cost the way you cook, if you will. And there's so much flexibility. If there was something else about batch recipes that I've not covered, from your perspective, from the computer side of things, the software, through the implementation, or how we're going to speed up inventory or speed up recipe costing cards, what are some of those things?
I think the flexibility that a batch recipe affords you, especially if you have a choice of something on your menu. If you have a choice of 5 different sides, you're not going to sit there and create 10,000 variations of that recipe, because they can choose any number of sides or meats or whatever it is. Especially barbecue people, you have choice of 2 meats, choice of sauce, choice of 2 sides, and you have 50 items on your menu. So the easiest way to go about this is to create a batch recipe that's going to have all of your individual side items. That's a choice item. And then what you're going to do is you're going to batch that. You're going to say they have the total batch is going to be 10 sides that they can pick from. Storage will be whatever, 1 or 10. And then the portion size will be 1. And what that's going to give you is the average cost of that side item.
Nasty term called a weighted average.
Yes.
It's kind of scary. Anyway, go ahead. I know math. It just throws people off.
So eventually, once we have that in the system and it's functioning and we have it up for ready for about 2 or 3 months, what you're going to do is you're going to go and you're going to pull a PMix from your POS system, and you're going to figure out what your clients or customers are actually ordering, and we're going to go and we're going to switch up that the batch recipe to reflect what they're actually ordering, so that it's the weighted average of what they are ordering, and it's costing you, based on whatever it is that they're actually ordering. So you're not going to charge the most expensive item, which is something that's really popular in the restaurant industry.
Because we're padding our recipes.
Yeah. And you're not going to go ahead and lowball yourself and give them the cost of the lowest coleslaw or whatever that's 10 cents. You're going to go ahead and you're going to figure out what your customers are actually ordering. If it's your mac and cheese that's super popular with all those cheese and creams and butter, that's going to be super pricey. Or if it's your rice. Your rice is 3 cents for an 8 ounce portion. Whatever it is, it's going to be the weighted average of those. I think that's one of the most utilitarian uses of batch recipes. Again, batch recipes are my absolute favorite. So if you have any questions, call me.
And I'm going to throw one more piece in there. When we talk about inventory, because I'm going to be talking a little bit about shelf-to-sheet inventory later on this episode. And it gives you huge flexibility for counting exactly the way you see it on the shelf. For instance, if I had a 5-pound loaf of mozzarella, well, I can count it by the 5-pound loaf. That's how I got it in. But if I slice it, I can put it in 25 slices in cellophane and label each one, and I can count it by the each. Next to it, I have cubed and by volume in a Cambro. And next to it, I've got shred. And I do it by weight. I can do all these things, same damn product, sitting next to each other, counting exactly the way you see it on the shelf. And we're inventorying, so the math is exact. Mary, I'm going to tell you, I get excited about batch recipes too. I'm not as excited as you do.
No, that's my favorite, if I haven't mentioned that already.
But it is truly one of those things. Just share with people one last tip of why they have to take this seriously, and batch recipes have to be done. And whether it be accuracy and cost, speed and inventory, having weighted averages. What is it that you feel like, man, you have got to have this done?
It is all of those things that you mentioned. Speed and inventory, it's so dramatic. If you've never done shelf-to-sheet inventory and you've done alphabetical order inventory, you want to kill yourself by the end of the day. I know, I've done it. Shelf-to-sheet makes it so easy to just go in, like David said, shredded, diced, cubed, whatever it is that you're counting, you have a batch recipe for it. You're able to just say, okay, I have one of these, half of these, and you keep moving. That's one of the things. The second thing is having the accurate pricing on your recipes. You can say, I think my food cost is 35%, or it's 28%, or it's 22%, whatever it is that you think your food cost is. The only way you're going to know that is if you have all of your item recipes costed out. What you need for your item recipes, you need all of those components, which are your batch recipes. That's the only thing that's going to give you accurate food costing on whatever it is that you are making in your kitchen, because it's your actual products, it's the way that you actually process it and the way that you actually use it. So I think that's the the joy, I don't know, I find joy in batch recipes. I don't know about you or anybody else, but
Back of house people, you're all nuts. You're all nuts.
We are a little bit.
I want to thank you for sharing. We're going to have you back. Again, if you're looking to learn more about batch recipes and you want one of our experts, call up support and talk to Mary. If you're a brand new member or thinking about it, know that Mary is going to be taking you through that first 100 days, and she's going to make sure you're successful. Know that batch recipes are going to be part of it.
They will be.
I'm really excited about today's expert interview. We're going to be talking with Bruce Watanabe, who is the founder of Sire Mobile Marketing, a platform that is really, really incredible. And I think every restaurant should have. In fact, we've made it a part of our loyalty program that our members get a special deal. So first of all, know that I believe in them. And I'm going to tell you on a side note, Bruce has another company that actually manages the programming of Smart Systems Pro. So we've known each other a long time. I can't think of anybody who knows software better. Bruce, I want to welcome you. Thanks so much for being with us.
And thank you, David. Thank you for the opportunity.
It's my pleasure. Do me a favor, tell people a little bit about your background and a little bit about Sire, what you guys do.
Sure. So just to give you a quick background, I'm Bruce Watanabe. I'm one of the founders and CEO of Sire Mobile. Sire Mobile actually started off as an enterprise platform almost 15 years ago. I got involved roughly around 2 years ago with an individual named Lee Peterson, who's the founder and CTO of the company. We realized that there was a huge opportunity for small to medium-sized businesses, including restaurants, to take advantage of the enterprise platform that Lee had built over the past 15 plus years and repurpose it to cater to the small businesses, as I mentioned earlier. So we spent about a year in R&D, raised some funding, and in mid-2018 is when we launched SireMobile.com, which caters to small to medium-sized businesses that do not have large budgets, that do not have resource capabilities or development capabilities. So any person can go to SireMobile.com with a simple swipe of a credit card and launch a text message or SMS keyword campaign literally within 2 to 3 minutes.
And it's just not text marketing in the sense that, as you talked about, it really was an enterprise level. And if those people don't know what enterprise means, big freaking companies, correct. The guys who have lots and lots of money that have so much power behind it that there's probably, it's probably a Porsche and we need a Chevy sometimes. But man, if you wanted a Porsche, it was there in the back end of your software.
That is absolutely correct. So we took the experience that we were doing for a lot of Fortune 10 companies, a lot of that you see today in banking institutions, healthcare, et cetera, and we repurposed, as I mentioned earlier, so that all the templates and all the workflow that you see on SireMobile.com, just know that it is a combination of all the experience that we've done internal, external campaigns for these Fortune 10 companies, and we provided that capability to the end user for SireMobile.com.
Well, I know when you first launched, you went to a couple restaurant shows. I was exhibiting there. You were there, but you were signing people up left and right. It was absolutely crazy as I watched. And it's because we as small businesses need text marketing, mobile marketing, SMS, whatever you want to call it. We need it, but tell people why. Maybe some people don't know why they need it.
There's a couple things. So I'll talk about the reason why we ended up getting into the restaurant is it happened to be by accident. But first and foremost, text message, it's an old technology. Everyone is well aware of text message. It's been around since the mobile phone has been in existence. But right now, today, especially with the millennials and younger, people love to text message. And there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, text message, if you look at the app, is pre-installed on every single mobile device in the world. So you can communicate with anyone in the country, in the US or outside the world via the text message app versus in the past, versus over the top applications like Facebook Messenger, Viber, Line. You see all these over the top. Both parties need to download the app in order for them to communicate with each other. So that's why for the millennials and the younger, they'll rather use the text message application versus all of the over top applications.
And I think that's really important because I've got young kids, like 16, 18-year-olds, soon to be 17, 19. They don't use email. I mean, old people like me, like, 50 plus years old. Email, Facebook. Nobody uses Facebook. They use Instagram. Everything's
That is
shifting,
correct.
and it's got to be on their phone. And it can't be something they have to download because they get a choice there. With mobile marketing, with text messaging, there's no choice. It's on there. You can't even
You
get rid of it.
cannot delete the application at all. And just for your to give you some stats, David, email response rate is less than 7% within a 90-minute response time versus text message. It's a 90-second response times with a 96+% response rate. Because when you get a text message, people check. Versus email, between personal and business, on average, people have 6 to 7 different accounts. Versus text message is tied to that mobile device and it's more personal to that individual.
Right. Yeah, and I think I see it in my business now where we've now converted to text messaging to just communicate with our members because we know they don't check their email. We know that they don't set up their voicemail boxes or they're full. We know that if we require them to download a whole nother app, it's something else to get lost in the myriad of apps. So text messaging is literally the way to touch them right away. So I don't know about you, but I can't go to the bathroom or anywhere in my house without my phone. Like, where is my phone? And I think most people are like that.
And there's
right?
a terminology called app fatigue. App's been around for a long time, but with the downloading the apps, it takes up space on your phone, plus the updates that happen all the time. There's a terminology called app fatigue, and people don't like to download apps anymore, and they'd rather communicate via simple SMS or text message, channel per se.
Sure. Do me a favor. Share with everybody either watching or listening to us right now one of the stories that you talked about, how you helped a restaurant, you talked about by accident, kind of learn how the power of this can really multiply their sales.
Perfect. So we ended up getting into the restaurant industry, as you mentioned, David, by accident. I actually happened to go to a local Japanese sushi bar in Orange County, California. And because I go there, obviously I'm pitching SireMobile.com. Our original intent was not to target the restaurant industry, but because of the fact that I was there, the owner and I are really good friends, and he decided to take a chance at text message marketing because at the end of the day, it's $24 a month for our lowest paying package. So after we launched it, we did some test projects, and within 3 months of having him set up text message campaigns in his restaurant, and there's only maybe 10 tables at his restaurant, he was able to gather 5,000 subscribers in his subscriber list. And all he did was set up a couple of keyword text message campaigns on SireMobile.com. He put a printout, like a tabletop, on each of his tables saying text, the restaurant's called Okie Dokie. Text Okie Dokie to phone number 39492 to receive a discount or whatever he was offering at that time. And within 3 months, 5,000 mobile numbers is in his subscriber list, knowing that it's a 96% response rate, 90-second response times. So and then because of the fact that he loved it, obviously he needed more messages. He moved up into one of our top tier accounts. And now, after he launched the text message campaign in his restaurant, his gross revenue, he didn't change any menus, he didn't expand his restaurants. It went up 40%, and we have a case study or a video on our website showcasing that.
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, you think about it, number one, if you try and get, if you're a full service or quick service restaurant, you got a loyalty program of any kind, or just fill out a comment card, how hard it is to get your team members to actually ask the customer for data, how difficult it is. And then if you get it, you got it on paper, and it often sits in a box, and somebody maybe puts it into some sort of email marketing or whatever service. So now you've got your own customer says, I'm just going to enter it, I'm in. There is literally zero resistance because they know if they want to be a part of that, they make the choice, and it's simple by texting to a number, you're done. That's one thing. The other is, I mean, holy cow, for $24 a month, if you will, could you imagine a 40% increase in sales? Hell, I'd sign up, man. If I could get that to happen in my business, how is it that works? I mean, I already know the back end of it. I know that it's like old school email marketing where you can have drip campaigns and set up campaigns and things. You've worked all that marketing technology from emailing right into text marketing.
That is correct. That is correct. And another way that Okie Dokie currently uses it, because they had slow times between Monday and Wednesday from 3 to 5. It's always slow in that restaurant. So what the owner decided to do is he goes into SireMobile.com and he basically launches a blast campaign to all of his subscribers whom are opt-in and say, hey, there's a happy hour special, buy one, get one free. And the moment he sends it, obviously you're going to get a 90-second response rate at a 96% response rate. That's how he is able to leverage the power of SMS as well as leverage the power of SireMobile.com.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, you think about it. I'm not a real fan of discounting. I like discounting. I'm not a fan of overuse or misuse. That's the right way to use it. If you've got dead time and you're paying for labor and you're paying for lights and all the utilities in that building, why not get a butt in the seat with a wallet?
Yes. And
are there any other situations where you found that you've seen in the restaurant world where sales are increasing?
So we have we have a lot of easy to use templates that when you log into SireMobile.com, you're going to take advantage of. But one of the templates is what we call Tell the Manager template. So imagine you go to a restaurant and you go to the restroom and it's dirty. What do you typically? You have to go outside. You have to go call the manager if he or she is even available and tell him that something is the toilet paper has run out. So what Okie Dokie does is in the restroom, they have a text message campaign called Text Manager to 39492. And the moment the person texts that keyword to that short code, the 39492, the manager or the lead gets notified right away on their mobile device, and they can basically they can open up that direct communication channel through that 39492 short code, and they can assess that situation and address it right away.
Oh, I think it's most amazing. And I smiled and I said it's my favorite feature, because what I don't want that bad experience to hit Yelp, TripAdvisor, social media, Twitter, anywhere where they're telling tens of thousands of people I suck.
Correct.
Where I give the customer an opportunity to tell me I got a problem, that I have an opportunity to fix it. That is incredible. And I happen to know because of the back end, man, everybody can know. So if you're an owner and you want to know if your managers are responding, you can leave yourself on the whole time and be one of those people who gets that message at the same time and see that they're damn responding. It's incredible. The accountability level is way up there.
That is absolutely correct. So a number of people that you designate as an owner can be on that thread. At only given time, one person can respond to that thread, but the manager, the owner, their lead can always see the thread or the communication going on between the customer and whoever is responding to that customer from the restaurant.
Now, because of permission-based marketing and things like that, how do you handle permission-based marketing? Like if I've got a list of customers from another database, can I bring them in? How do I handle that? If somebody texts, is there anything in there that I got to be concerned as a restaurant to be worried about?
Absolutely, because text message, fortunately, compared to email or all the cold calling that goes on right now, there's not much compliance that is being adhered to because of the fact that the SMS is going through the telco companies. The telco companies, they want to make sure that everything is compliant. And we at Sire want to make sure that we protect not just Sire, but also our customers as well. So we have a lot of templates and tools in place to make sure that our customers remain compliant. And one of the ways to remain compliant is to basically set up a keyword campaign so that when a customer does send that keyword to that 39492, they respond with a yes to comply, and then you have the ability to reach out to these customers.
It's fantastic. So it's the CYA, cover your ass. That is correct. You've already got that built in. For me as a small business, that I don't have a big legal department. I don't have to worry about this stuff. So you've taken care of that. Now you did talk about, you laced me a little bit about templates. You've got a lot of different templates. Like if I don't really know how to market and I want to know how to use this, you've got ways for me to kind of jump in and start using it right
Absolutely.
away, right?
So even on SireMobile.com, you can set up an account in literally 2 minutes. You can start off with a free account. You're going to get, I think, 100 or 200 credits in your account, which is text message. And you can basically set up your first keyword campaign. Text David to 39492, and we walk the customer through the entire process, and you are in control of the content that goes out to your customer through the SMS channel. We make it very easy, very affordable very simple to launch your keyword campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, if those of you who are members and watching or listening to us right now, know that you talked to Greg Sauerback on our team, and we're going to connect you with Sire. We've got them a part of our loyalty program where we actually get a special deal for our members. I'm not going to share with you because if you're not a member right now, you're not getting that special deal.
That's correct.
But I'm going to tell you right now that anybody can have it. So do me a favor. Talk a little bit about some of the high points and benefits of Sire marketing, your mobile app, meaning how you work, what some of the benefits are, what some of the features are. Kind of share with people about Sire.
So the benefit for number one is we spent a lot of time, as I mentioned earlier, we spent about a year doing A/B testing, speaking with small businesses to see how we can make it more easier to use. SMS, although it's a standard technology or an easy technology per se, but there's a lot of intricate details that go on the back end that we had to repurpose to make it to cater to the small businesses. So when you log into siremobile.com, number one, as David mentioned, or as you mentioned, David, we have 5 templates that you can literally select from, ranging the 5 templates ranging from keyword opt-in campaigns to make sure that your customers opt in into joining your subscriber list, all the way to blasting templates where you basically control the message, control the content, and you specify the time and date you want to send the blast to your customers. We have the Tell the Manager template that I mentioned earlier. We also have surveys. People use MailChimp or emails to do surveys, but you know what? Like I said earlier, it's a 7% response rate. You're not going to get the response that you're going to get on an SMS. So we have a template that you can survey your customers. We also have a drip campaign template where you can set, if you have monthly promotions at your restaurant, you schedule it way in advance and you designate the time and date you want it to go out, whether it's one.
Bruce, we just lost your microphone.
Oh.
Hold on one second. Oh, you're back. Go ahead.
Yep. And we also, outside of the templates, you can also, for those advanced users, you can create your own template based on the different rules and workflows that you would like. It is for advanced users. It is not for a simple user, but if you get accustomed to using our software and understand the mechanisms around it, you will have the ability to create your own templates, basically on the fly using our template builder.
Yeah, and it's really easy. I mean, I've been in the back end. I've got damn near all of our elite members on it. We're trying to promote it as much. It's one of those things that sometimes people don't know they need it. They don't know they have a pain point because they think the old technology email is working. They know that they got to be on social media and things like that, but if they volunteer their phone number for you, they're already saying they like you, they want to hear from you. And there's no more powerful way to drive business to come back more often and spend more than somebody volunteering saying, I like your restaurant, I want to be a part of it. Communicate with me, especially when it's on their phone. That's personal. That's
absolutely.
Right in their pocket.
And for those small restaurants out there, you would not understand how many people go in and out of your restaurants. And the moment you capture their mobile numbers, and a restaurant like Okie Dokie didn't realize they had 5,000 customers coming in and out of his restaurant over the course of 3 to 6 months. So, and all it takes is setting up that keyword campaign, putting some tables up or some stickers, and make your keyword campaign publicize that at your restaurant. And all of a sudden, you're going to get all the mobile numbers, which I consider gold because of the response rate and response times. And knowing that as long as you don't spam them all the time, as long as you provide value to them, they are going to respond and they will come into your restaurant.
Talk a little bit about the cost. I mean, I know what people are thinking, like, yeah, this has got to be really expensive, but we throw out a small number of $24. I mean, it is tenths of pennies. I mean, it's unbelievable how little you can spend to increase your sales. Talk a little bit about.
So we have, I believe, the free account, obviously, which gives you, I think, 100 or 200 credits. We have the $24 per month account, which gives you 1,000 credits. We have a $49, all the way to a $249 account, which gives you 15,000 credits. So, and I actually challenge the audience here to go and look at other companies out there, because that's what I typically like to do. I want them to see what's out there. And at the end of the day, they're always going to come back, not just because of the ease of use, but also because of our pricing is literally 100% off compared to our closest competitor, because of the fact that in our world, in the SMS world, there's the engine and there's the platform. A lot of these competitors out there, They were just a platform, and they use an engine called Twilio. They had to pay Twilio.
Right.
And then they build a platform on top of the Twilio engine. We are both the engine and the platform, so we can get rid of all the middlemen and the costs associated with it, so that we don't have to pass on those costs to our end users. Hence, that's why we're about almost 100% cheaper than any of our closest competitors out there.
Plus, you're bringing an enterprise level text marketing and the engine behind it to a small business.
That is correct.
Just like me, like any restaurant owner listening
And
right now.
for those of you who are interested in SSP, or the restaurant expert, we even have an even better discount for those of you.
Yeah, but we're not going to tell them. They got to call.
Yeah, that's
Greg
right.
Sauerbeck
They have to
on
call
my
Greg to get
solutions
the
coach.
discount. But it is definitely a competitive discount if you sign up through SS or through the restaurantexpert.com.
Yeah, it's a sweet deal. Do me a favor, those people who are not members, who are not interested in Smart Systems Pro right now, because this is going to be broadcast all over the world. It's the internet. How would they contact you? How would they learn
There's
more?
two ways to contact. If you can go to www.siremobile.com, SIRE.
And that's SIRE.
mobile.com, and you can literally set up your free account. Takes 2 seconds, or I'm sorry, 2 minutes. Your email, your text message, your mobile number, and you're ready to go. Or you can text sign up to phone number 39492 and we will ask you a bunch of questions on your mobile device over the SMS channel, and Sire will set up an account for you through the text message.
Crazy, you're using your own damn technology to make it easy for somebody to sign up?
Correct.
That's crazy.
That is absolutely correct.
Well, I just want to thank you so much, Bruce, for being on as my guest today. I want to get the word out. I've had you come to one of my elite meetings and talk with my top members who've been with me for a long, long time and really implement everything. I have done a webinar with you in the past, and now we're going to broadcast you out to everybody other than our membership base, because I think there's not a restaurant out there that shouldn't be taking advantage of Sire Mobile and what it has to offer. Because one, getting more customers on your list, that's powerful. Number two, getting them to come back more often and spend more, that's incredibly powerful. Getting them to tell you there's a problem before they leave, holy crap. So it is just an immense thing for pennies, and literally tenths of pennies. It's something I think everybody should have in their arsenal. Again, I want to thank you so much for being on the call today, and we'll do it again sometime soon, I'm sure.
Thank you very much, David. I look forward to it. Thank you.
I want to thank you for taking time to watch this month's episode of the Smart Systems Insider version 2.0. In this episode, you heard from Forrest Higdon, one of our elite members, how formalizing your restaurant with systems doesn't give up creativity. In fact, you get more done. I shared with you shelf-to-sheet inventory, step-by-step process, and a software tip in Smart Systems Pro that you can actually execute and get the most out of your systems. Mary DeLeon shared with you the step-by-step process of batch recipes and how they're critical to the success of your business, and knowing your actual food cost and what you're selling and really building your recipe costing cards. And last but not least, I hope you really enjoyed the expert interview with Bruce Watanabe, who is the CEO and founder of Sire Mobile, because mobile marketing is where you need to be.